Once upon a time, a very long time ago, there lived a beautiful white rose princess in a castle hung just above the clouds in the sky. Her castle was made of crystals and white roses, and it sparkled in the sunlight above the clouds. Sometimes the clouds would even come around the castle and kind of shield it a little bit from the sun. And when it did, there was a warm glow from all the white, beautiful roses round about. And the princess, she was beautiful too. She had long, brown, golden hair. Her eyes were a sea green, and her lips were a beautiful ruby red, and her cheeks rosy and with just a hint of pink. And when she held one of the white roses up to her cheek, the white rose seemed to kind of pick up the color a little bit, and it blushed some. So the white rose princess was walking in her garden one day, and it was a beautiful garden of white roses. Every flower, every rose, every bush had a shade of white to it. Even the shrubs that she used for her greenery was kind of a dusky white. It was so beautiful. Actually, if you were just to look at it the way it really was, it probably needed a little color to my eyes. But when the sun would come out, for some reason there was just a prism of color dancing all around the garden. And she stopped one day as she was taking her walk in her garden, and she looked out in the distance because her garden was so huge. There was a big red rose right in the center of her garden. Now this upset the princess because her garden was supposed to be all white roses, and later on I'll tell you why. So she waltzed out to the red rose, and she was just about to pluck it up when she thought to herself, why is this rose here? I've never had a rose of a different color blooming in my garden. It was right in the center. So she backed off a little bit, took a good look at it. It was a beautiful red rose, all velvety and soft and just perfect. And she thought to herself, what shall I do? Shall I cut it off and pull up the bush, the rose bush? Or what can I do? And she thought for a moment, she thought, and then she went back and she walked and walked back and forth, and she thought what to do. And then suddenly it dawned on her. Like a light going on, she went to the red rose, and she said to the red rose, I'm going to let you stay in my garden even though you're a different color. You're beautiful anyway. But I'm just going to let you stay here, and we'll see what happens. Now, the Rose Princess knew that if the white roses took on the colors of her cheek, then possibly the red rose might take on the color of the white rose, or vice versa. It was a chance she had to take. But because there were so many white roses around the red rose, she thought she would just wait and see. Well, days went by, and one day she went out to walk in the garden and look at the rose again. Well, to her amazement, the rose in the center of the garden had begun to take on the color of the white roses all around it. And instead of being a full, deep red, it was beginning to turn pink. And she was so thrilled because along the sides of the rose with the beautiful petals and everything, it was beginning to turn pink. And day after day she would visit the rose garden, and day after day she would see that the red rose in the center of the garden was turning white because of all the white roses around it. And sure enough, one day when she went to the garden, the red rose had turned completely white, just like those around it. And she looked around and she was so pleased with her garden. And the reason she was pleased with her garden is because she began to hear the thunderclouds roll beneath the castle. And they began to rise a little bit high, kind of encircle the castle. And sure enough, it began to rain, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained for hours. And after the rain had slacked off, she looked into her garden, and to her amazement, there was a beautiful rainbow out in the distance. It was so beautiful. It wasn't up real high because it was more or less beneath the clouds, but it kind of rose above the clouds to some extent. And instead of being a bow, it seemed to be a complete circle of all the arrays of color you could imagine. And her garden of white roses began to take on all that beautiful color of the rainbow, all those beautiful colors of the rainbow. And there were some pink, some yellow, some lilac, some blues, and some greens, and of course some reds, and some kind of a flaming orange. And wow, it was just so beautiful. And she looked at all the colors around her, and she said to herself, I am so happy that I'm a white rose princess, because I'm white and pure. I can take on these other beautiful colors that are around me, and most of all, I can reflect the beauty of the rainbow. And about that time, the mist cleared away, the rainbow ceased to be, and the sun came out, and you should have seen the sparkles around the castle and around her garden. It was so beautiful, and some of the sparkles could almost put your eyes out. They were so bright and beautiful. And with that, the white rose princess began to dance, and she danced all the way inside of her beautiful castle. And happiness was one of the things that she enjoyed for the rest